Hey, what's going on, you guys? IJ16 here, bringing you another video today, and today in this video we have got some new Destiny 2 news to talk over. Now this news is coming from the Edge magazine, which basically got to play Destiny 2 early at Bungie. And you know, they said some pretty interesting stuff. Now the first thing I want to talk about is something they said about energy weapons. Now, for me, when I saw energy weapons, I think I mentioned this back in a video a while back, I thought, what are energy weapons going to offer? And I hope there's something unique to them, because otherwise it would be just a PvP change and a bit pointless to put them into all your primary weapons again into a secondary slot so you can have a Nightshade and a Nightshade, you know? But you know, now that really answers it. So in Destiny 1, you basically had your primary weapons that would be useful for taking out adds, you know, low damage. Then you'd have your secondary weapons, which are medium damage, helpful for taking out adds and bosses. Then you'd have your heavy ammo, which is helpful for taking out adds and bosses as well. But that's like lots of damage. And then when I saw the energy weapons, I thought hopefully they have something useful to them, otherwise it'd be a bit pointless for PvE to move them into the secondary slot. But energy weapons, depending on the different element, it will now take down an enemy's shield faster. Now we already sort of knew that, but when it takes down the enemy's shield, it will basically create an explosion that will defeat all enemies around it. So say you use a void energy weapon and shoot a void shield, all the enemies around it will explode, and all the enemies around it will just explode as well. Now this wasn't in the beta, so before you start saying wait, but that wasn't in the beta, they did mention that it was not in the beta. Now also next up, Nightfalls are now not going to be Nightfalls are now a timed event, so kind of similar to Destiny 1, but I feel like it's going to be a bit different. So with the Dawning, we got the timed Nightfalls, which would, so you had to you could complete the Nightfall when the time limit expired, but you wouldn't get your Daybreak bounty done. Now either they're continuing that, or they wouldn't really mention it as a big thing in a news article if they were going to, if it was just the same thing as in Destiny 1. So really what I believe is going to happen is Nightfalls are now a timed events. They are now, you have to complete them in with the time limit, which I never really liked that, because it was a bit of a pain to complete some Nightfalls in the time limit, especially Nightfalls where you had a burn where every enemy had that burn, and it was just so difficult to do, especially if there's like loads of adds around, like, you know, strikes like maybe even Omnigul and Arcburn. But you know, some strikes are really difficult, especially in Nightfall, so I don't know how that's going to actually work out. But maybe they might do the same thing, but maybe it's a bit different. Instead of the Daybreak bounty, maybe if you complete the Nightfall in a certain time, you get better rewards. So even if they have like milestones, like complete the Nightfall in, I don't know, 5 minutes. Because, you know, you have seen videos on the internet about completed Nightfall in 1 minute, completed Nightfall in 3 minutes. You know, maybe they could add milestones for those people who really want to take on those challenges and try to defeat them Nightfalls in that certain time limit. Now, next up, they did say that when they played the game, it wasn't like the beta with the supers and grenades. So grenades and supers definitely recharged faster. Now, we knew that was coming because they did mention that they were going to fix this, but it's good to know that it is fixed and your supers and grenades do recharge a lot faster now. Now, next up, we have the story. Yes, the story. Now, the story really became a meme in Destiny 1. It was kind of the highlight of one of the worst things in Destiny 1. And you know, people have seen improvements in the story with Destiny 2. Now, we already saw that we have 50 cutscenes, but now they mention that when they play Destiny, it has over 80 story missions. 80 story missions in the vanilla of the game. The vanilla. Now, it can't mean with all the expansions. I really highly doubt that, because yeah, I just highly doubt that. But 80 plus story missions with 50 cutscenes. Now, people also went along and counted the cutscenes for Destiny 1, and we had about 45 in 3 years and 50 in the vanilla of the game. So I, again, went ahead and counted up all the main story missions in Destiny 1, and there's 40. There's 40 main story missions. And we're going to have double, maybe even a little bit over that, in Destiny 1's vanilla. Now, I didn't count up the quest story missions. Maybe the quest story missions will not. In fact, no. I was about to say they may have changed the title a little bit, but in fact, no, because there ain't that many quest story missions. But 80 plus story missions. I mean, that is brilliant. 80 plus story missions with 50 cutscenes. And, you know, even if this is just the main story missions, if they do continue little quest stories with them, wow. And over in the first part of Destiny's vanilla game, they're going to have 80 story missions. And not only that, they said 80 plus story missions and PvE activities. That is brilliant. You know, I was even going to make a video on sort of like what was the main content problem. It was, you know, one of the reasons was that, you know, we didn't get a lot of content in some of the expansions, but now we're gonna have like 80 plus story missions and PvE activities. That's great. That is great. And if all the story missions are detailed as Homecoming, or the cutscenes are as good as Homecoming, and you know, if PvE is just going to be that good, then I'm really looking forward to Destiny 2, especially someone who's a PvE player. I mean, that is just brilliant. And I mean, that's just in the beginning of the game. We had 40 main story missions in 3 years. You know, in 3 years of Destiny 2, how many story missions are we going to have? Detailed ones as well. Now, they also said that there was too much content, that there wasn't any more progression, which has been fixed. So basically, they had that much content that it overlapped your progression, but they have fixed that now, so that is good. But now we're sort of going to get into a bit of spoiler territory here. It's not major spoilers, but you know, if you do want to sort of skip to the end, then yeah, you can, but you know, this is pretty much the end. So I'm just gonna let you either click off the video or skip to the end now. Okay, so here's like the minor spoilers. So what they said was, so when you get kicked off the edge, when Ghaul kicks you off of the edge, you basically wake up in the European Dead Zone with no weapons and no powers, and you basically have to survive. So you have to reach the farm and survive. So maybe a bit of survival in Destiny. I don't think it's actually going to be too long away, the farm. But yeah, you can only stumble, you can't jump, you have to not fall to your death. And, you know, it's like, yeah, you can just stumble to the farm. So it's going to be a weird story mission, because in Destiny we like to sprint, jump, and all that sort of stuff, and now we're just gonna have to stumble to the farm, maybe even meleeing our enemies, and you know, maybe even have to survive, like grab materials and food and all that. So yeah, when you wake up, you've got no weapons, no powers, and you reach the farm where I cannot remember her name now. Hawthorne, that's it. Directs you to the Shard of the Traveler, where you'll have to defeat some enemies there, trying to extract its power, and then extract the Traveler's power, and regain your powers, which I guess is where we'll get our new subclasses. Now, you know, that kind of leads me to the sort of question of whether maybe, it kind of leads me to the question of whether, like, will our old subclasses be in Destiny 2's Homecoming? Like, will, like, our old subclasses be in Destiny 2's Homecoming, or will it only be Striker, Golden Gun, or Nova Bomb? That's what I do think it's going to be now, but, you know, I was just wondering, will all our old subclasses be in Destiny 1's first mission, and then we get our new ones? But, you know, it's probably likely that it'll just be Striker, Titan, Golden Gun, and Nova Bomb. Now, they also said that the final boss is going to be a shapeshifter, and it's going to really have you play tactically and more, you know, mindfully. It's not going to be a bullet sponge, but it's going to have you play a lot more tactical, not just a bullet sponge. But anyway, guys, that is it for this video today. If you like what you see in this channel, don't forget to drop a like below, comment down below your thoughts on this, and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.